reveille, donks.
Look at us now, tip to tip. This is our life. This is our passion. That's the spirit we bring to this show.
I'm Luke Thomas.
I'm Brian Campbell.
This is Morning Kombat.
Hey, it's a new year. How about no limits for 2024? Morning Kombat, back at it. Anniversary mailbag show. Anniversary? What am I talking about here? How about New Year's Day? It is January 1st, 2024. We recorded this in advance, but all your other favorite podcasts are taking the day off, so we might as well be here. Brian Campbell, Luke Thomas. We win awards in these parts. Luke, it's a new year, so I'm going to need a resolution to kick it off.
Ooh, a resolution to kick it off. But what if I haven't thought this one through?
You're going to have to give me the first thing that comes to your mind. What can you change, Luke, for the better for this new year? Maybe less flatulence? Or maybe more. Maybe more. Maybe more.
I mean, yeah, if anything, I need to scale up.
There it is. Yeah, there it is. We are so happy to be here with you, folks. Thank you for the time while Luke figures out what to do with the rest of his life. Mikey Mormal, CBS Sports, behind us as always. We have taken your questions from YouTube, and we are ready to answer them for another holiday mailbag. Quickly, you can like us, you can follow us, you can do all that stuff. Thank you so much, guys, for everything you've been to us throughout this great journey. This is going to be a new year, a big year for us as well, so we're very excited. But today's all about you, so there's the channels you can like, and if you look closely at this here sweatshirt, you can also purchase it over there at morningkombat.store. Check it out right now. All right, Luke, a general life recap of 2023 before we answer up all these questions. Big year for MMA on the big time level. Great year for boxing. MK was up and down, but, like Tyson Fury around 12 against Wilder, we're back on our feet, brother.
We're back on our feet, I think, I hope. Again, not a bad year in MMA, but certainly it felt like a different kind of year with some very good, solid, at times excellent punctuated moments, at times some lowlights. It started with Dana and his wife the worst way possible.
Yeah, you had an awful idea, by the way, for this show that you would open it by slapping me as like the 1 year anniversary. I'm like, look, that's horrible. That's
first of all, I never said that, but that's an interesting thing to try and pull on air. What I would say is I do desire to do that. So if you want, I'm happy to take requests. Our drill instructors at boot camp would do this, BC. Like, you do something wrong, and one of them would be like, hey, go tell Sergeant Tice that you want to get your heart popped. And so you'd have to go walk over to the other, to explode from, exertion. That's what they would do. Like, you want to go get your heart popped. So you'd have to walk over to the other guy, and you have to be like, recruit, so Thomas in this case request permission to speak, and they're like, what do you want? This recruit requests permission to get his heart popped, and then the other drill instructor every time would always say, damn, hell yes, I love taking requests. And then they would kill you, and it would be
and then they were like, hey, sorry, Sergeant Tice is unavailable at the moment. We heard something about train tickets. He's got a big trip planned.
A lot of points on Amtrak. A lot of points on Amtrak.
There you go, right there. It's been a wild year. We're happy to get through it. Man, boxing really delivered. Hope they'll do it again. Obviously, the end of Showtime Sports for all of us was a tough pill to swallow, but new beginnings, new horizons for everyone as we start this new year. Hopefully, all of you folks are taking a good turn for your health, mentally, physically. Let's get in the best shape of our life. Let's be our best selves this year, Luke. All right? How about that for a resolution?
I think that's the way to go, BC. I will say this. Yeah. Someone was asking for, give me generic advice for 2024. I will say this, BC. Generic advice. Take it for what it's worth. So many positive things happen when you take good care of your physical health that extends beyond just your physical health. And so for that reason, make 2024 a year where you take care of your physical health and let the many benefits take you over.
Yes, I have a little mantra it's called MIGA. It's make yourself great again. And I've got a series
the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
I've got a series of red hats, Luke, that I'm going to put on the Morning Kombat site. Pretty much. All right. How about we make MK great again? All right. How about we do that by answering your questions that we pulled here from YouTube? It's probably going to be a lot of weird usernames in here, Luke, but let's entertain the people. And what are they going to say? What's your favorite Christmas song? We've done that every year for 4 years. What do you got for us, people? Let's start it right about now. Luke, Johnny 138138 is sliding in first. Pretty much. I mean, is that his jail identification number, Luke?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Johnny says, "Hey, happy New Year's."
We might have a Jan Sixer, and they're
Yes.
proud of their efforts.
Happy New Year's, donks. My question is pretty straightforward. Johnny says, "What is the time that you got most wasted for New Year's?" Great question. Would love to hear a story of debauchery from the past. Thank you for countless laughs and great coverage. Happy 2024. Luke, I got a really bad one. You have one particular one that stands out?
Yeah, dude, I had a bad one. Golly. And it actually wasn't really much that I personally did, but I was with a group of guys. I'm still friends with most of them, but not what I once was. Golly, dude, we went to a place in what's called the Golden Triangle, which is just south of DuPont Circle here in the city. And we got thrown out of a club because the security staff announced to me, I wasn't there for this, had announced to me that two of my friends were caught urinating in one of the bartender's sinks.
Oh, wow.
So that was great.
All right.
So that was great. As soon as we go outside, another one of my friends who was not involved with that, but we all had to leave, started a fist fight on the street with another guy over, I don't even remember, but they got to jawing, and 30 seconds later they were fist fighting. It was one of the most insane things ever. And then we lose track of one of the guys who was alleged to have done the urination. He and another dude went to another club. We lost track of them. We saw them later. They got beat up and stripped of their coats that evening. They were all physically lumped up. And then to top it all off, we actually had a room that we rented that night at the Mayflower, and they got kicked out of their room for noise complaints because two of the cousins were then fighting on not physically, but like yelling in the room, and we had to leave. And it was super terrible. It was super terrible.
What age were you about, Luke? What year was this?
25, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Mine was New Year's Eve 01 going into 2002. All my friends and even my sister we got a bunch of hotel rooms in South Norwalk, Connecticut. There's this area of bars downtown called Sono that's very hipster. And Luke, I decided to this was right in the midst of my debauchery leading up to my quarter life crisis. I decided to have 8 beers off the tap, and then somebody goes, "Hey, you ever have this new thing called Red Bull and vodka? It's great." So Luke, I had eight of those. Vodka. 8 of those, not realizing the Red Bull element of it. So a couple of things happened that night. My sister met the man she would go on to marry, but my best friend Ed and I spent the whole night trying to box him out away from her. And then, Luke, when it was time to go home, I may have run out into the middle of the road and started stopping cars to try to get a ride home. I'm like, we don't need a taxi. Look, I'll get us a ride. Hold on. So that part was a little bit weird. But then when we got to the hotel, my rage really just kicked in, and also all of those drinks. And I ended up being so rowdy. There was a fire drill. Well, first I passed out, and I passed out alone in a room, Luke. And if there was not a fire drill, I would have died that night like Bon Scott and choked on my own puke, because because I would go on to puke, uncontrollably. But there was this fire drill about 2 a.m. So all my friends that were in the lobby bar come running into the room. They pick me up. They can't pick me up because, I'm 220 pounds of just crap. They drag me by my shoulders and arms into the elevator, into the front. As soon as we get to the front, there's cops and firemen everywhere, and I perk back up. I walk one step out the front door and throw up for 5 straight minutes on the rug that you walk in on. And the policeman comes over and he goes, "Happy New Year, kid." And then I walk over to the fire truck and I'm like, "Hey guys, don't worry. My dad's a fireman. I got this." And I start climbing in the truck. I'm pulling stuff out. Look, it was one of those nights where, you make a lot of enemies. You have a disastrous hangover. And I particularly remembered the next morning. So I would have been 24. And the next morning, I remember for the first time, I was like, I have serious life problems right now. If I might need a therapist. I need a life coach. I need something, because the road I'm on is going very dark. And, there were a lot of other debaucherous moments and me acting out that night. And, Yeah,
we do need to get the show on the road, but I will say this, BC, and I say this to people all the time because they're always like, "Oh, you and Brian are so different." And dude, in so many important ways, that's absolutely true. Like irreconcilable differences in certain ways. But in other ways, dude, we've lived the exact same life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the broad strokes, it's been the exact same life. It's fucking crazy.
People want to paint me as a loser because I did whippets in the back of an Arby's parking lot. But Luke, you've done some things
That's
too.
some
Okay,
loser
let's
shit.
be fair.
I mean,
that's
just
loser
king
shit.
loser shit. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, just throwing up in front of like 50 people and cops and firemen, in the lobby of a hotel, as that's just gross. But anyway, that's my life. I've lived it. I'm reformed. Now let's get into the next question. This is from Kimbo Rampage. Wow, big time old school MMA fan here. Would you support longer time in between rounds? MMA took from the boxing model, but MMA has longer rounds with the same rest period. So that's a good question. You get 60 seconds in both MMA and boxing, but as we know, boxing rounds are 3 minutes, 2 minutes for the women, and 5-minute rounds for MMA. Luke, for MMA, would you like to see that 1 minute become 90 seconds, 2 minutes? Does it matter?
Yeah, it matters. That's an absolutely terrible idea, dude. There was news this past 10 days, because this is coming out January 1, that MLB is looking to turn the pitch clock, which, by the way, I hope folks understand. I know we have a lot of European or Aussie listeners, and they may not understand. Baseball is an insanely old game, and only recently, after 100+ years, have they introduced a pitch clock. It's a brand new invention. And BC, already for the upcoming season, what they're talking about is if there are runners on base, then you have the pitch clock goes from 20 seconds to now default 18. In other words, all of the premium in terms of what goes on television these days in sports is making it as lean and quick moving as possible. Going the other direction sounds like an absolute impossibility for many reasons, not least of which is what television network would want MMA that takes longer to get going? No,
I guess that's a fair point. You want more action in there, but if you're fighting 5 hard ass minutes, is 60 seconds enough? I guess that's the real question. But we're 30 years into this.
The answer is, of course, 60 seconds isn't enough. Of course. These guys get out there and they're still fucking tired. That's why they have to be in the most insane shape possible. It's you have to give them just enough of a break where if you're in insane shape, it's perfect. And if you're not, it has this dramatic effect. You want to have this incentive of it not being a perfect rest period. People keep trying to do this. Everyone wants I want pure fight. It's some kind of pure version of Coke that you can just distill chemically down to. And there really is no such thing as pure fight. You can just create better or worse conditions. The minute system isn't perfect, BC, but the trade-offs about what it gets you and the incentives it creates, it's basically a good idea. There you go.
All right. When you said pure Coke, did you mean the soft drink or the Coach Craig Jones no spears? There it is. There it is. All right. Let's go over to at NCR Ranger 5030.
N-word. I was like, BC, come on, we had a conversation about this.
Hi there, old men. This man says 2 quickies. Number 1, best fights to rewatch from the post McGregor era. So let's start there, Luke. What does he mean here? The best fights. What is the post McGregor? Are we in the post McGregor era? Best fight. Did he mean pre?
What is the post McGregor era? I don't know what that means.
Did he mean pre? He may have meant pre. Does this mean that he came to the sport because of Conor, which would be understandable? Conor brought a whole new generation of casual fans in.
I don't know how to answer a question like that. It's dude, there's rad MMA for basically every year headed back to 94 that precedes it.
Yeah, let's take RCR Ranger N-word and leave him alone on that one. His second question is best careers to dive into for a post McGregor era fan. Love the shows. Can't wait to see you two bang next year. Hey, Tui, what are we doing here? Okay. I mean, look, if we get to 200,000 YouTube subscribers, are they expecting full consummation? Because I'm not that easy, dude. No, definitely not.
Yeah, that's not the prize in the Jack in the Box.
Okay. All right. So Luke, the best careers so he keeps saying post. Do you think he means pre? Or did he stop watching after Conor? I don't get it. But Luke,
Conor hasn't stopped. I mean, he's taking these long breaks, but what is he saying? After 205? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, but why would he say best careers to dive into? That doesn't make sense. Let's imagine
this question basically makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, we're gonna move on here. Our NCR Ranger. We appreciate you playing, but you've lost. Congratulations, you've played yourself. All right, let's go over to at Jack Haxton 8650. With Paddy's performance against Tony Ferguson, can you see Pimblett ever cracking the top 10 at lightweight? Luke, you answer while I let Reggie Jackson out, okay? Because he gets surly real quick, all right?
Yeah, okay. I got to see where you picked up. Jesus, which one did he read? I didn't even hear him. Which one?
Will Paddy
He can edit
Pimblett
this
ever
in
make the
post.
top 10 at lightweight, Luke?
Oh, yeah, I think Paddy will make the top 10 at lightweight. I actually did a little bit of tape study on him, BC. There's some stuff there.
Okay.
Some of the things that we had noticed from 296, definitely There's a couple other things that I didn't really appreciate in real time. The thing is this, he's turning into, this is not the right comparison, but we talk about all the time, like Ryan Garcia is great because he has like pretty fun offense. And, his defense is not where you would want it to be. I'm not comparing the two in the sense that it's a 1-to-1 in any way. But he does have defensively some like real problems that they're just going to limit him. Like that's just the reality. But dude, he's putting together a little bit of a decent game here that I'm starting to respect a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, his right hands were landing crisp, clean, straight on Tony. He was looking good there, obviously.
Kicks. His leg kicks.
Yeah.
Two things I noticed. His leg kicks were like, they're real tough. And dude, his mount, go back and look at the stability of his mount. When you see Ferguson resisting, it was very good. He stayed balanced through the attack there. That's hard to do, man. That actually takes a fair amount of skill. I respect that. Good for him. That was good shit.
One thing I still think he needs, and hopefully maturity will bring this out of him so that he could have a shot at being the best he can be, is I heard him at the post-fight press conference after defeating Tony. Somebody asked him about his weight, and he was basically saying, many times between fights, I get, upwards of 200, 215. He's like, I don't want to be like that anymore, but, between fights, I blow up. And look, we've seen that a lot from younger fighters. You don't see it as exclusively as like back in the day, 80s, 90s boxers in between were still, going ham, drinking, getting fat, whatever. But if Paddy does want to be legit top 10, become a title contender, you got to live the lifestyle. I remember like when Floyd and B-Hop about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, were like the first guys, at least from boxing, where it's like they're living the Spartan lifestyle 12 months a year. They're not getting out of shape in between fights. That does matter. That certainly does mean something.
It was never a coincidence to me or to frankly anybody, certainly, of course, watching GSP in his prime where GSP lived in the gym. And you were like, right, that's why. Like, he's obviously athletically insanely talented. He just had a dynamic athletic profile for MMA. He had a vast lead in terms of that on his competitors. Plus, he trained like a madman. He had good trainers. He was a good technician. There's a lot of reasons why him, but like the fact that BC, John Jones was the opposite. He would do all the shit wrong and then still beat the balls off everyone. But in general, watching St. Pierre, you're like, dude, I can understand both from natural abilities, but also the damn work that dude puts in. It's just, he just has more hours in the gym. Simple as that. More hours in the gym.
And to be fair, Paddy almost helped Tony create a moment in round 3. I'm not saying Tony didn't help spur on that potential moment, but Paddy was slowing down. If Tony wasn't taken down there around 3, we may have seen a Ferguson rally. So I hope Paddy can get to a new level of fitness because, look, obviously he's skilled. He's incredibly popular. He moves the needle. So I want to see that guy in huge fights. Heck, I want to see him against Conor at 300. And I'm assuming now I'm the only one because I don't see anyone really talking about that anymore. It's a great idea. It's such a good idea.
That idea caught on with positively no one.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, listen. I had John Jones, Robert Whitaker. Eat shit. You all have bad ideas time to time.
We all have to take an L once in a while. Let's hear from @Reclaimer7954. When deciding what to name MK, were there other names left on the cutting room floor? Luke, this is a great question that goes back to our origin, July 2019, and we launched the Monday after the International Fight Week card for UFC, John Jones versus Thiago Santos. You originally had an idea for a name because we were kind of struggling to come up with one. Do you remember what that was?
I do. Here's what's funny about this, and I'm not casting any shade because I thought it was a good idea at the time too. In retrospect, it wasn't the right fit for us, but my idea was headliners. But like, I knew I didn't quite fully believe in it. It didn't sound quite right to me. Ultimately, it ended up Rachel Nichols named her show that. She has a show called Headliners. But at the time, and again, I'm not saying it was the best fit, but at the time, someone internally, when we were like floating names, They said it sounded like an 80s cover band. So we were
We
like,
could have been the Headbangers, Luke. Headbangers
yeah.
would have worked, right?
Headbangers
You like
is
metal?
a gym, though. It's like, you know.
You like metal? I like banging. Yeah, I used to, before.
But like every MMA and boxing podcast is like that. It's like the full uppercut, or
yes. What
round
you're
by
right.
round, shit like that.
So to bring people back to that point, I remember being kind of like I couldn't figure it out. I know I could be creative in these type of areas, but I just couldn't find the right one. And was it Brian Daly, our patriarch, who did come up with Morning Combat? Because I remember thinking, okay, I don't love it, but it is cool enough, and it does have like that 90s throwback vibe to it that it might work. Now, in hindsight, I'm happy we went this way. MK just works. The name is, enough of a play on something that people recognize. But Luke, it may have been Brian Daly who pitched it. My initial thing was like, oh, really? Really? That's what we're called? Because I don't think we were given a choice in hindsight. Not that I'm complaining. We've had a great run and plan on continuing. But sometimes I guess this is how it happens sometimes,
Yeah, I think neither of us came up with that. Someone else came up with this. It was like what's the word? It was like focus group tested. They were like,
yes,
we came up with this one, and like our ideas were like, we love pornography podcast, or headliners, shit that you just couldn't possibly sell. They were like, well, how about Morning Combat? I think we were both like, we're just not. We weren't going to do better. We were not going to do better. So
my favorite part in Morning Combat history was when you and I were the halftime show of the Charlo Brothers pay-per-view on Showtime Boxing at Mohegan Sun, and Brian Custer 3 separate times was like, let's throw it on over to
Mortal
Kombat. Yeah. And we were like, by the third time, BC, are you, is this a bit, or are you taking shots at us? Like, what are we doing here, bro? All right. Shout out to Brian Custer. Let's keep this going here. This is from F Machado 509. What are your predictions on the fight card for UFC 300? Interesting topic.
Dude, I get this question every day in my DMs. What about 300?
Yes.
And I'm like, guys, I got to tell you, I feel. Go ahead and read the question. I'll do it.
F Machado wanted to add that we are the GOATs. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to another great year with you guys. Thank you, F. We appreciate that. Luke, rather than play out the card, because we could make that another fun exercise, or we could get Whitaker versus Jones too. But right now, let's just play main event game. What do you think is the most likely UFC 300 main event as we record this, which is just before Christmas, airing on January 1st? What's the most likely or best choice for UFC 300 main event, which does have to coincide with the time schedules and the health of the fighters that we want to see?
Do you hear my daughter yelling at the
door?
door?
Yeah. Tukes is like, Dad, get the hell out of there. All right.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Restate your question at the end there one more time about 300.
Yeah, if right now, given the time schedules, the current injury status of the fighters, right?
Okay. So what could be on it? Right. I apologize.
Main event. We're just talking main event. What's your prediction for the main event?
Honestly, the best thing I've heard as just a theory for what could satisfy everyone's conditions, but like also who's available, because that's really the bigger question. Like what actually is the available roster? I've heard stuff like, and again, it could just be total fantasy matchmaking, but something in the order of like bringing back an old name, a Rousey versus Miesha Tate 3 or something, right? Something along those lines. St. Pierre obviously is not available. He has made that pretty clear. So I don't know exactly how far back you could go, especially if Conor's not on 300. I don't really know. This is my point. I think BC, honestly, like 300 will be like good. I'm not saying it'll be in any way bad. You'll be like, that was a good card in the end. That was a pretty good one. But I don't expect to be like rocked off my feet in a way I never expected. If you can't figure out who that would be, the likelihood of this satisfying this grand vision of things just seems unlikely. Just expect a great card, and that's it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great card. We can already tell the rumors of Bo Nickel kicking it off, Dana saying that top to bottom you're going to be blown away. I expect to be. As much as I will welcome the idea of gimmicks, whether that's Rousey coming back, Lesnar coming back, or really anything crazy, because I do think this is one of those special type of cards that's almost an all-star game celebration. I still think the main event should be a title fight involving current guys. That's why I don't even want Conor in the main event, although they could very easily do him against Chandler, Gaethje, Nate, whoever they wanted. I still think Conor will be a separate card because of his individual drawing power. So, Luke, if I look at who's available, maybe, I mean, I love that idea of Pereira Adesanya again for the light heavyweight title. It's possible, but I want something like that, Luke. I want something that matters. So when you look back at 300, it's not, oh, Rousey came back after a decade in a non-title fight. No, I don't. You know what I mean? I want something that matters.
People want a historic night. They want a historic night.
Yeah.
That's what
the thing is,
Centennial should be.
But here's the thing. Volk has a fight before that, so he's not going to be ready. Is Makhachev, he's not always active around this time because of Ramadan, right? Would he be able to take that fight? Is that before? Would Makhachev be able to fight at 300?
I think so. But not much later than that.
But it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to do him against Oliveira? Like, what is that? I don't know.
Him versus Leon. You could do him versus Leon.
You could. See, I'd also be okay with that. If you did two champions against one another, I'd be okay with that.
Dude,
but
poor Bilal if they do that, dude. Poor Bilal.
Yeah.
Because if Islam wins, which, I would favor Leon to win, but I would not favor Leon to win so dramatically that Islam is like lost out there.
Yes.
I don't buy that at all. And so you're like, shit, dude. Well, what if Islam wins? They're going to run it back again. Bilal will have to fight for, at best, an interim championship. It fucking sucks, man. Sucks.
So interesting if it ended up being Rousey Tate. Tate was sort of accidentally the UFC 200 main event when she yielded the title to Amanda Nunes and started the Lionesses run. It would be wild if somehow she was the main event of 200 and 300. I hope that's not it. That's not a main event to me. It's a attraction fight that would bring a lot of eyeballs, but it's definitely not a main event for your boy BC with his white belt takes, Luke. And I think that's the case. Who are we missing? Shevchenko's probably more aligned with Grasso. And that's not going to be a main event either for 300. John Jones is not ready, so that sucks.
Well, it's what I'm saying, dude. It's like, unless you get a name that's like not really in current circulation, whatever that would be.
Yeah.
Rousey is one. There could probably be some. Who is it? Like, there just doesn't exist. Who's the
All
name?
Right. We've thrown around a lot of different combinations involving these two names, and this matchup was teased a few years ago and it never went anywhere. What about this? It's not fitting in line with the title fight like I want. What about GSP versus Conor McGregor at welterweight?
Dude, GSP already said no.
Okay, Luke, he said no, but like if they're in the war room figuring it out over the next month, there's going to be talks of how much money would it take. So I'm throwing that
everyone
matchup
is a whore.
idea.
You think all these guys are whores for money, man? I
don't
think that there's an amount of money that they would ever put on the table that would ever even get close to getting St. Pierre out of retirement.
But the thing is he's in shape, and it's 300, right? It's 300. Did he main event 100, or was he the co-main?
Does he care? He was at 100. He beat Thiago Alves at 100.
Right, but that was not the main event, right? That was like the
co-main,
second
I
or
believe.
third. Yeah, okay.
Co-main.
So the chance to come back at 300 against the biggest star in the sport. I know he said I'll only come back in fights that raise my legacy, and I know that he's probably not interested in coming back and fighting Leon for the title. So, dude, that's an interesting. There's so much star power in that matchup, Luke. It's wild, right?
First of all, like St. Pierre, at age 40 is probably still a real bad matchup for Conor. Number one.
Oh, hell yeah, he is, dude.
But more to that point, dude, like I believe, dude, St. Pierre is not in shape because it has some transactional value for something else anymore. St. Pierre is in shape because that's who he is. This is what brings him joy and comfort and peace and excitement or routine or whatever. That's why he does that. He loves it. It just, your point is, it kind of keeps him close to like, well, how far away are you from professional work? But dude, he made a shit ton of money, relatively speaking. He appears to have spent it and invested it wisely. He's in great physical condition without having taken too much damage in the fight game. Like, dude, why the fuck? There's zero incentive. Zero.
All right. And we're not going to see him against Anderson Silva either in the co-main. Okay, maybe you're right, Luke. Maybe you're right. Not that I want to either. Let's go to at San F Man. Sandman 62-100. I don't know what these numbers are. What is this? They're social security numbers. Look, hey, Luke and BC, from strictly a bodybuilding perspective, who would you say has the most beautiful physique in the UFC?
Dude, this person, hold on. This has to be a bit, because this person asks that in my live chat like every week, and it gets downvoted, and it's like it never gets.
Have they
put
paid
at the top
for it?
or whatever?
Has
No.
Sandman
This
paid
is on the
for
free.
it?
This is on the free side. There's an hour of the free stuff. This is all on the free side. They keep asking this one.
All right. Well, I'll finish his question.
they want us to be like, oh, so and so looks so hot or some shit.
No, we're talking. He said from a strictly a bodybuilding perspective. I respect that. First team all bod. We've talked about men's breasts before, Luke. We've talked about Big E. We're talking about
Bilal
Joaquin
Muhammad.
Buckley.
Bilal Muhammad is first team
Yeah.
all titties.
Yeah, remember the pecs. I do remember the boobs. No question. He says, here's the finish. I'll finish reading the question. Judging by things such as muscle insertions and muscle bellies, proportioned abs,
Yeah, I mean, this is the
and
stupid
definition,
conversation. Just say whose physique you think is rad or whatever.
and pipe size. No, he didn't say that. He's saying my pick would be Leon. Great definition and killer glutes.
Fine.
All right, this is going off the rails. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. This dude wants us to be like, yeah, this dude. Yeah, I mean, this dude's physique is so great. We just want to fuck him. That's what they all want us to say, and it's not what this is about.
He then adds, Leon's face ain't too shabby either. LOL.
Yeah,
okay,
we've been
had.
None of that is inappropriate, but I just know our audience that can only be satire or the attempt to get us into.
Okay, is there do you think there's been a male or female UFC body that must, in terms of being defined and bodybuilding nature, has been the best body in UFC history, Luke? Is there even an answer?
Dude, how about weight cutting Yoel Romero? Something like that.
Yes, that's insane. That's insane.
Right?
Yes, that's just
like weight cutting Yoel Romero is an impossible level of.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar at 200.
Like, I remember when I was in college. I used to read bodybuilding magazines like Flex and all that kind of stuff. And they would do interviews with Ronnie Coleman. That was the peak, or pretty close to the peak of his, like their early to mid 2000s, and late 90s anyway. Actually, I think it's more late 90s. You get the idea. He was always in these magazines, and they would always be like, "What makes it so you're so great?" And the natural instinct is the guy works out a lot. He takes all the drugs, which is true. But then when you really fully wrap your head around the fact that they all take all the drugs and they all work out the same, why are there now differences? Dude, some people just have genetic gifts that are fucking crazy. And Yoel Romero's got genetic
You're
powers,
right.
Man.
You're damn right about that. He's a freak of nature. That's a good answer there. Let's go over to Ricky Jo 4ST. Is that a racial slur? What is that? Ricky Joforst? Ricky Joforst?
It's probably a racial slur.
Yeah, he says, what's your craziest Christmas memory? I need to hear how Luke Kimura, his 12-year-old nephew, for taking one too many Hawaiian sweet rolls back in 2007. Thanks for all the laughs this year, donks. It's Rick. Luke, I have one.
Christmas stories.
I only have one, and it's unfortunate. It was when my sons were still infants. They had come home from that crazy first year in the hospital where they were in multiple hospitals and went through so many surgeries. And about a week and a half before Christmas, one of my sons started to get very, very sick, and it led to us going back to Boston Children's Hospital. Suddenly we're in there, and so it's about a week out from Christmas, and we've been in there for a couple of days, and it starts to become apparent that they're like, as long as he makes a turn for the better, you guys can go home and you'll be home in time for Christmas. I had my parents come up from Florida. We had, hundreds of dollars of food in the fridge. We had this big celebration planned. And my wife and I, unfortunately, ended up being stuck in the hospital for 2.5 weeks through Christmas, almost to New Year's. So that was disappointing. The only thing more disappointing than that was Christmas dinner, when my parents and my mother-in-law were nice enough to drive up and meet us at Boston Children's Hospital. The only thing open on Christmas was the Obam pan in the lobby that was about to close. So my Christmas dinner that day with my son in the hospital was stale bread and the grossest sandwich of all time. And then, Luke, to add insult to injury, while we're watching Elf that night in the hospital room, I get a call from my parents back at the house I was renting, and they're like, you don't have any heat. And I go, oh yeah, we're supposed to pay that bill a week ago, but I've been in the hospital. So look, I thought people would understand. I called the 24-hour emergency line for the local oil delivery, and the old bastard that was on call, that was probably a few sheets to the wind since it was 9 p.m. on Christmas night. He didn't really like it, Luke. In fact, he was arguing with me saying, can't you just wait till tomorrow? Can't you just throw on extra blankets? And I'm like, sir, I'm in a hospital a couple 100 miles away. Can you go back and turn the heat on so my parents can sleep at night? Look, that was the worst Christmas ever.
Sound like a terrible son.
I mean, I didn't pay the bill on time, but my life was in chaos at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, dude, I've not had any crazy Christmas memories. My life is not. If anything, dude, they've been either good or dull. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
Yeah, they've been
They've
good.
not been some crazy hair on fire kind of thing.
Yes. Yes, dad didn't leave mom on Christmas morning or something where you're just scarred for life, right?
Yeah, I've never told you about like, dude, you've never seen the divorced handoff, have you? Like you never experienced that, where one
No.
parent has to deliver you to the other parent for custody,
And they
or
don't talk?
weekends. Oh, dude. Well, it depends on who your parents are, right? It
Yeah.
depends on that. If your parents are cool and they're rational and normal adults, they will understand that there's a way to do that that's better than others. Or you could do what my folks did, which is just bicker like, LeBron and Boston Celtics fans or something.
Yes.
I mean,
Or LeBron and Colby. Covington.
yeah, true rivals.
Yeah, the Hatfields and
So,
McCoys of the sporting world.
The
Yeah.
Hatfields and the McCoy. That's what it is, dude. It's the what is it? It's the parallel between North and South Korea, man. That's really what it is.
Did you use the unfortunate nature of the divorce to get your way with both parents? Like, were you able to get extra stuff by like playing the guilt against them, or it was just
No,
chaos?
you couldn't do that because they didn't see the other person's like giving as anything other than at bare minimum owed, or like an attempt to undermine you. Like I said, my dad got me those Reebok pumps, and like my mom made me give them back, and this was like at the peak of Reebok pump coolness.
That would have been so cool,
dude. And remember, this was after I had to wear the winter shoe.
Yes,
years
which means you're
that.
truly
This
a
was
loser.
my come up. This was my come up, and then I didn't get drafted into the league.
Unbelievable. This one's from @Jimmy_Reed. Favorite type of craft beer? For me, this is Jimmy talking. For me, you cannot beat a hazy pale ale. Keen to hear what you lads like best. Now, Luke, I don't really drink beer anymore.
Like yep.
But if I'm going out with my high school friends or whatever, I'll have some. For me, it's the IPAs, of course, but not double or crazy or triple. No longer any fruit in there or cinnamon or anything that's going to give me a vicious hangover. Just give me a really badass hazy IPA and I'm good. Luke, what would you prefer if you had to drink a beer at an event? What would you go for?
Honestly, like David Chang is the guy behind, Momofuku?
No.
Yeah, of course. Why would you? God. Okay.
He's not big in my area, Luke. I'm sorry.
He's a famous restaurant. He has, dude, Momofuku's is in New York.
Okay.
I think he has some other ones around the country, but the big one, his name is David Chang, and he actually made a point, and I think even Anthony Bourdain said the same thing, which is you can drink nice beers, and like obviously like Bell, the company Bell's, they make Two-Hearted Ale. Everything they make is pretty quality. If I see them on the menu, I happen to order them. Eggenberg is makes a really good Pilsner. But what they argue is like if you're having like good food, or even if you're just drinking beer, just getting a cheap beer that's like soft on the palate is kind of perfect, to be honest with you. That's where I'm at these days with beer. I just want a simple one that's soft on the palate if I'm eating something delicious. That's it.
Okay, so when I want exactly what you're talking about, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes like even cheap American brand name lager, if you get it on tap at the right place and you drink it at the right time, it can be the joy that it used to be back when we were, losers back in our early 20s. I will say that I'll go in the middle, like a hoppy American ale, not an IPA, but just an American ale that's got a little hop to it. That's probably like perfect, where it's like
I used to do long rants about IPAs. I really find I think it's just I don't understand the appeal, candidly. I don't get it.
Yeah.
The level of hops that people claim to enjoy, it seems absurd to me.
If you have a really strong, well done, like amazing award-winning one, I don't know, there's almost like a euphoric high in there sometimes, Luke. You know what I mean? It's like
I've never gotten a euphoric high from that shit ever. PC's like, I got a runner's high drinking this. I'm like, yeah, that's never happened for me.
Yeah,
I was thinking the other day, dude, I drive by this liquor store. That's like on this main thoroughfare when I take Tukey to school every morning. And it's a nice liquor store. I mean, in as much as a liquor store can be nice, it's a fine area. Anyway, that's the point I'm trying to make. And I remember one time I went in there, and just for myself, I bought a 40 and then like a liter of Beam. And I was thinking to myself, like, this will last me maybe the weekend, but probably like 2 days, like just an absurd amount of drinking. And the person who rang it up was like, damn, somebody's partying. I was like, are you passing judgment on how much I am serving alcohol to myself, sir?
Do you have an American, like, shitty lager, big brand name that you prefer the most? Like, if you have to drink shit beer, are you loyal to Bud Light, Bud, Busch
If I
Light,
have to
Miller,
drink absolute piss,
Coors Light?
Miller Light is tolerable, or at least it
Yeah.
used to be. Honestly, I'm not sure if it still is. It
I'd
used to
either
be
go
tolerable.
I'd either go Miller High Life, which is definitely piss, but it's like
The
a
champagne
nostalgic.
of beers. I've never understood that. This is the wine of liquor.
Yeah,
What does
well,
that
that's almost
mean?
like part of the charm of it. It was almost ironic because
This is the Malbec of tequilas. That doesn't mean
Yes.
anything. That doesn't.
And dude,
mean
when
anything.
Miller High Life throughout our portions of our late teens and 20s, when they would introduce those small ponies in the glass bottles, those were amazing. Or they'd change the bottle shape, bring back the old label. It just felt like, I don't know where I come from. It's almost classy to drink a High Life. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I would say I have
know those
great
folks.
memories with Busch Light, dude, or just regular Busch. Give me the Busch.
I partied well with Busch Light, but
I find the
I can't
hangovers
say
are
I
so much
enjoyed it.
more tolerable on Busch, Luke.
Yeah, I guess. But I just don't
Without
do beer like
Busch,
that.
you'll get a
You know what?
machine
I'll
head.
have a Tecate once in a while. A Tecate is not bad at like a ball game. Would you say?
Con character. Yeah, I don't hate Tecate. It's fine. I mean, they're all
It's
shit,
fine.
but whatever.
Dos
but
Equis, they're all the same bullshit.
Would you if we should shoot some Bud Light cans with firearms one day, Luke, on camera? That'd be fun, right? That'd be great.
I've never taken you to the shooting range. We should do that this year.
I have never fired
Luke takes BC to the shooting range.
Okay, get this. I have never fired a weapon before.
You've never fired a weapon?
No, wow. I'm not like, I'm not I'm just, it's just not my thing, Luke. I'm just not, I would be a little nervous. I'd be a little scared. It's just not my thing.
I don't get off on it or anything, but I've certainly had my fair share of experience with it. Dude, every man should know how to fire a weapon. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I mean, that's not quite true. I don't feel like every man should, but I feel like if you haven't scratched that itch, there's a decent reason to try.
Okay. Maybe we should do this on camera. Morning Combat 2024. It'd be a great doc, Luke.
It would be great doc content.
Yes.
Do you know make docs?
Do you know some of the 9/11 villains unfortunately trained at the shooting range in my hometown, Naugatuck, Connecticut, up on I'm not even kidding, not a bit. They trained there in the year before that went down. Not cool, but it's true.
Is that you're doing a bit?
Nope. And also Hunter Biden, during a couple years ago when he had one of those hooker drug escapades, came to the shitty motel in my town, Naugatuck, Connecticut, that we all went to after the prom to get wasted.
You know what Hunter Biden is confirmation of, and I mean this quite sincerely. There's two kinds of dudes. There are guys who have absolutely in full reality never once ever paid for sex and won't do it, or there are guys who have spent $900,000 on hookers like Hunter Biden. Like, there is absolutely there's no one who's like, yeah, I did it a couple times. It wasn't for me. No, you either don't do it or you've done it 100 times. That's it.
Yeah, I worked once when I dropped out of college, Luke. I worked at a nursing home and put together the food plates for the old people and delivered them to their room.
You were gonna say you went through and you were just banging the female.
And there was this guy Abdul. He was so funny, Luke. And he's the type of guy that used to put on the mask with the weed backpack, and then somebody would light it and he'd do the full immersion. I mean, the guy was crazy. But I went to Montreal with my friends one weekend for New Year's, and just to go to St. Catharines Street and live the debauchery. And I got back and I remember Abdul was like, "Oh, so you guys didn't get hookers?" I was like, "No, dude, no." I mean, we went to Club Super Sex, but no, we don't. That wasn't really our thing. He's like, "Oh, I just assumed when you arrived, you would just instantly call multiple escorts and line them up for each day." And it was so matter of fact, Luke. I'm like, is this really how the other half does live?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Is the answer.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know if that man served in the military, Luke, but he would be accepted in that.
I cannot believe which hijackers, like which flight.
I'd have to do a little more research, but it was I think it was one of the building crashers specifically, Luke. One on that flight. Yeah, they had trained.
Dude, they looked at everywhere on the map. They're like, "Where's the most remote piece of shit out of the way place?
Where's the most Isley spaceport of the tri-state area?" Yeah.
Jesus, man, that's crazy.
Let's keep this rolling here, Luke, on our New Year's mailbag. Yeah, we got male viewers. They got saggy ones. Here's it from @Korean British. I don't know if that's Korean British. All right. Best
Yeah.
of both worlds. Do you think the UFC has gone a little off on Paddy Pimblett? Can you ever see Paddy getting into the top 5 lightweight rankings? Love the show from
Didn't we
Korea.
just
So
do
we
this?
just debated that. Yes, Luke, we eventually can see Paddy getting to the top 10. This is an escalation of that question because if you get in the top 5, you're a title contender in my eyes. So is Paddy Pimblett, I mean, he may fight for a title anyway on popularity alone, but on merit, will Paddy Pimblett on merit get into the top 5 of the lightweight division?
Unlikely.
Wow.
I would bet probably not. But,
All right.
but you know, there's a lot of factors where we'll see.
Well, okay. Will he ever headline a pay-per-view in any fight? Could be Conor, any fight.
Yeah, I'll say yes. Yes.
I think they'll get that out of him. I think he'll get to that point.
Yeah.
I don't know
that's a good
yet.
Question. Yeah, I bet he does. Mm-hmm.
I do wonder though if he could get hot with favorable style matchmaking, which I know we always say the UFC doesn't do that, but they do it sometimes. And given the popularity, I do wonder if he could work his way into a title shot if it's just like the perfect storm where the season is right, where it's a champion that's been there a while, where he wins 3 in a row and it's suddenly like, damn, the UFC is going to do it. They're going to punch his ticket. Like, it's not impossible by any means, but will he be a respected, considered one of the 5 best lightweights in the world? You say no. You might be right on that at the end of the day, Luke.
There's a lot of names you have to upset to get that far, dude. That's hard. That's hard to do.
Unless you get the right matchmaking with the right styles or aging names.
Then, even then, getting to the top 5 at 155 is a feat in and of itself.
Yeah, indeed. Here's from Drew from Ye 882. All right, Drew. Luke, as a massive fan of Shavkat Rakhmonov, are you concerned about his struggling to get takedowns against Wonderboy and Jeff Neal going into this potential fight with Leon? Now, we don't know if he actually is going to fight Leon next. He may have to fight one more, but Luke, his lack of successful takedowns against these 2 men, Thompson and Neal, does that concern you at all?
No, not really. I mean, he finished them both off.
Yeah, he got him down eventually. Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. He finished Jeff Neal with a standing rear naked choke. Remember that, and to the side actually. So there was a whole thing there. So I mean, we put out a clip, and it's actually one of the ones that got picked up from Monday's show, where I said, "Oh, Shavkat Rakhmonov's your next champion," and people think that I'm like arguing he would easily beat Leon. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah.
Like in many ways, BC, Leon is a bad matchup for just about anybody, but especially Rakhmonov. There are particular dimensions: his mastery of range, his ability to counterbox, obviously. His takedown defense. He's strong for the weight class. Like, there's a lot of factors that make him a formidable matchup for, at times, an overeager, and I still think somewhat, in certain ways, underdeveloped Rakhmonov. But dude, here's just the reality with Rakhmonov. You're really gonna tell me you don't like his chances, given that he finishes off quite literally everybody, how much he is able to make offense count very quickly, right? He has very decisive actions, both grappling and striking, against a guy who, yes, the Kamaru Usman finish is remarkable, but is not a known dynamic finisher. That fight is likely to go, unless Rakhmonov ends it early, it is likely to go, if it's up to Leon, probably the full distance or something close to it. You really are going to give Rakhmonov 25 minutes to get something going and then expect he'll whiff on all the attempts? Like, I don't expect him, BC, every time he tries to have infinite success. Even Khabib had a sub 50%, for example, takedown offensive rate, right? It's not about how much difficulty he would encounter. He would encounter difficulty, but I just can't believe over the course of 25 minutes he would not eventually break through and cause real problems for Leon. I don't think there's going to be enough of him putting Rakhmonov in enough trouble to deter him from what he ultimately wants to do. And 25 minutes, if the choice is, do you bet on Rakhmonov over the course of 25 minutes? I got to tell you, I like his chances against just about anybody in that weight class over the course of 25 minutes.
And built into this question that before about, or I guess this is the same question about whether you're concerned about the lack of takedowns. It's like he's committed to eventually get the job done. He doesn't get deterred by lack of success in one area. So, like, you're right, over 25 minutes, I mean, he's going to get there. You get tired at all, you make a mistake, he looks like he's going to get there.
Part too, like, they're not going to fight next, BC. I understand something. Leon's 33. I don't think he's too far from 34. Shavkat's 29. So Shavkat hasn't even really entered his prime yet. and Leon is at the top of it or close to the top of it, and potentially not on the decline, but it's not going to get a whole lot better. This is him close to his peak. If there's a little bit of time that transpires where now Leon gets to 34, Shavkat at 30, and he's had time to work on some of these deficiencies, then you add in the same equation a much better Shavkat now with 25 minutes. I think people are underestimating what that guy can do with half an hour. That guy in half an hour will snatch your shit up. That's what he'll do.
It would probably be better under what you're saying for Edwards' sake to fight him next. But, Edwards is so...
Think about this, BC. In a 15-minute contest, I might like Leon. I might like Leon there.
Yeah, Leon is... look, we saw the positives from the Colby fight. He's becoming a brilliant tactician and game planner to shut down what you do well. So I think that's definitely an incredibly competitive fight. I hope we see it eventually, but I don't want Bilal to get screwed. By the way, John Anik going ham on social media to fight Bilal's battle. Now I know John's twin brother does a podcast. Remember the show? Remember the pod with Bilal Muhammad? But John taken to social media basically saying, I don't understand how anyone else could get it next but Bilal. So hopefully Bilal does get it, Luke. We've talked about it a lot, but the man is deserving.
I hope for him.
Even if I missed his rise, meaning I didn't see this coming. I didn't see all these wins coming. I thought he was a little too average, Luke. I missed some of those qualities that have been jumping out and have been a reason why he's able to be so competitive and then get the win in all of these. Let's go over to at El Hefe, not Jeffy. How does Mrs. Thomas feel about Luke saying his favorite country is Spain and not Colombia?
Yeah, no one listens to the show in my family.
Okay, what would your wife say though? If I was
nearby, my wife works nearby, and so she can vaguely hear me talking, but she doesn't pay attention to the show. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, my wife only
that's why
catches strays.
She'll on occasion hear me speaking a little bit of Spanish, and then she'll be like, "Yeah, you said it this way, not this way," you know.
See, what's funny, Luke, is in my house, my wife is much more apt to swear and has more of the, edgy foul mouth in a funny way. Whereas I grew up with a dad who swore incessantly, and as much as I love him and still do and have a great relationship with him, just refused to not swear incessantly. You know what I mean? Like my dad could stub his toe at a Christmas party with 50 people and yell the F word 25 times. It's just how he got down. So I don't swear around my kids at all. And when my family walks by the basement office door and they catch me saying things on this show, Luke, it's, there's some explaining to do, but dad's got to go bring home the bacon. Okay. This is what the people want, right? No, they want, some people want a serious BC in 24. Luke, are you ready for a serious?
Dude, no, I don't. Why the fuck would anyone want that from you? I mean,
you're like, you don't have that in you. Yeah.
Well, no, you do. It's just,
it's boring.
People are silly, BC. I'm happy with the the special needs BC. Yeah. Special needs BC is my favorite BC.
I put the CT and CTE. Luke, to answer it though, would your wife be upset if in a conversation I was like, "Hey, Mrs. Thomas, Luke actually likes Spain more than Colombia. It's his favorite country." She would be like, "What?" Would she be like, "Yeah, me too. I loved Spain."
She'd probably not be thrilled. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I won't out you on that one. This same man, El Hefe, says if Deontay Wilder is tied up with Anthony Joshua in 24, and just to remind folks that didn't see it, it looks like a 2-fight deal according to reporting from ESPN's Mike Coppinger for Wilder and Joshua to fight each other. I guess irregardless of whether they had won.
Irregardless 2 days is not a word. There's no such
2 days before Christmas. I think irregardless is a word. I used it in a text to you yesterday. I put a dash between the 2 R's though, Luke. That's probably wrong too. All right.
You did, but it is not. I love you so much, but it is not a word.
Thank you for that heartfelt love. He says, if that happens, does Francis Ngannou have a fight under PFL banner in 24? Look, I want to jump in and say this. We've debated this on other MK broadcasts, and I think it's true. It does look like Joshua and Wilder are going to be tied up for maybe even the whole year if they have a 2-fight series, right? I think that Francis will also realize, since Fury and Usyk are fighting each other for the undisputed heavyweight title, and I'm going to guess there's a rematch. I think there is a rematch clause in that one too, that he's going to find quickly, if he hasn't already, that he actually is out of big name boxing opponents to try to repeat the success he had against Tyson Fury a few months back, unless he's willing to take a secondary name. Because of what PFL's Don Davis had outlined to Ariel about their want to do 2 pay-per-views next year, one of them be Jake Paulish at the end of the year, one of them be Francis potentially against Wilder at the beginning of the year. I'm going to answer this man's question and say, I bet it's more likely that Francis just runs out of boxing options for the first half of this year. He sits down with PFL. They identify the best possible non-UFC heavyweight they can fight, whether it's Ryan Bader, whether it's Junior Dos Santos, I mean, whatever. And they get the best one possible. And Francis agrees to make his PFL MMA debut in the early spring area. What do you think about that answer?
Here's what I would say as I take this off. First of all, BC, my question back very quickly would be, Spence and Crawford had a 2-fight deal. They're going to get the second of those 2, and now you got this 2-fight deal. Is this a new practice in boxing? Have you seen this as a trend? Because I got to tell you, if there is a history to it, great. If guys start doing this more, I know it ties them up a little bit more than we would like, but honestly, I'll take 2 more than 0 every time.
Every day. Now, it's not always going to be good because, for example, the George Kambosos, Devin Haney deal, where Devin and his team were smart to leave Matchroom, go to ESPN for a 3-fight deal. We didn't need that second fight at all. It was almost an albatross. Almost, right? It was almost like, damn, we got to watch this fight. I like it more than I hate it for all the reasons you said. It is relatively new, and it also, like, fights that are hard to make, this at least guarantees both sides that they have that there's a great chance they'll get 2 paydays as opposed to 1. So it's sort of a necessary evil, but because look, as long as Spence Crawford 2 happens at 154 pounds, which I think it will, I don't hate it. I know people don't love it. I know we would rather have them go elsewhere, but like, I don't hate that fight. We get a chance to see those 2 legends fight again at a different weight class. Like, I'm in, dude. I'm in, even though it's not ideal, right? I'm in.
Yeah, I was just going to say I think what's going to happen, this is probably going to tie up Joshua, obviously, and Wilder for the foreseeable future, which has its own negatives, but I think is a net win for boxing fans. BC, I think that Francis is probably going to, just think about it logically. What's the biggest fight he can probably get right now? It's probably going to be a rematch with Fury, right? That's really what he's going to try to do this year. And if Fury loses to Usyk, I'll pitch that back to you. To what extent do his fortunes against Usyk either incentivize or disincentivize a rematch with Big Francis?
Well, I'll shut you down because I believe, if I remember correctly, there already is a 2-fight unilateral rematch clause, or whatever the word, bilateral, whatever the word means that either guy can activate it. I think we already have that for Usyk Fury. So if Fury loses, 1,000% you're going to see a rematch. And if Usyk loses and is competitive enough and wants to run it right back, he's going to have that option. So Luke, that's why I started the question the way I did. I don't think you're getting Fury versus Ngannou until, if at all possible, the end of next year. So
fourth quarter,
it's going to it's going to force Francis to have to do MMA, which isn't the end of the world, right? Like, even though you're naturally going to get groans from people who are like, damn, I want to see him against John Jones or Aspinall. So anyone else not in the UFC is going to be considered second rate. But let's also take into account that Francis has not been in an MMA cage in a long ass time. So I'm actually not mad, even if it's a guy that you're like, oh, that guy's old. Like, if it was Junior Dos Santos, you'd get groans, but I don't think that's the worst fight ever. What about Overeem, dude? That would win some people over. A rematch with Overeem, right? Or am I also stupid on that idea?
Yeah, I don't think that does much for anybody. I mean, he nearly decapitated him the first time they fought, man.
Okay, so what's the best case scenario? It's not going to be like a Josh Barnett. He's too old. What's the best case scenario of non-UFC heavyweights? And this is where Derek Lewis dropped the bag, in my opinion.
I would say, honestly, there's still a chance you could get a UFC defection coming up. I don't think it's likely, but that would be, obviously, if you let's say it outright. If you get a top 10 UFC defection, there's your answer, right? Number one. Honestly,
it's not gonna be Fedor.
BC, I guess
it's not gonna be Fedor, right? Let's just put that to bed, please.
No, but like, getting back to something here, why couldn't he box, like, I don't know, is there a second tier heavyweight that the Saudis would pay money for Francis to box?
Okay, great question. What about a Dillian White, for example, a Derek Chisora?
Right.
Here's my problem with that. What type of pressure can PFL put on him? Because I just said there actually is a possibility. If Usyk and Fury fight in March, and let's say they don't get hurt and they want to do a rematch in the summer, I mean, it's not impossible that Francis and Fury could rematch in Saudi Arabia next December. Not impossible, right? Maybe not likely, not impossible. But if he's going to then take money from Saudi to do a boxing match against a second-tier heavyweight, dude, PFL will get effed. And they did invest a lot in him. So I'm just telling you, I think there's no other turn but to go to MMA. So what we have to try to figure out is who is the acceptable heavyweight. Is it Ryan Bader with the Bellator title or no, Luke? Is that not acceptable in your eyes?
I mean, I will tell you, in terms of pure fun, the best fun fight you could make, given who's available, would be the guy who won the last heavyweight tournament, Renan Ferreira.
Yes.
It's like 6'7". He's pretty athletic. He's got some limits to how defensively responsible his game is, but he hits hard. He's big.
What about Bruno Capoloza?
Maybe you could go that direction, but the point being is, dude, none of those guys, I'm sure they're wonderful people, and I'm glad they won $1 million. Like, I got nothing bad to say about them. But we have to be honest about the level of celebrity as a pay-per-view entity that they have, and they are non-factors in that way.
Yeah,
they don't have any name that could sell at all, and they're kind of dangerous too, by the way. All
right, so if it's Czech Congo, you're going to be upset, right? If it's Czech Congo,
yeah,
or
like,
if
that's
it's
just pointless. It's just utterly pointless. Like, and even the Ryan Bader one, I respect Ryan Bader, but like, I just don't have any interest in seeing that fight for Francis really at all.
Is there a blown up light heavyweight? Like, what are we missing here? There's an answer out there. I know.
Is there no pro wrestler they could pull in? I'm being serious.
Not with UFC and WWE being together, no. And there's not a heavyweight in AEW that I think, off the top of my head, that is on this level. So no. I mean, maybe Hulk Hogan to try to like finally redeem him saying the N-word when he was banging Bubba the Love Sponge's wife on film, which hopefully not.
Could you imagine Francis in his like his accent being like, "This is for Bubba the Love Sponge."
Yeah.
This is for Bubba. I'm sorry, brother.
Okay, Nemkov's not doing that, right? Corey Anderson's not doing that because there has been
Nemkov might be one of the most interesting guys that they have in that whole side of the roster, but like, dude, a non-factor when it comes to being a pay-per-view headliner.
Okay, I did see. I think I'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think Corey Anderson's wife watches our show, but I think Corey Anderson said something in an interview or a social media post lately that he's not against moving up to heavyweight and not against fighting Francis because he can wrestle, obviously.
It gets you a little bit further, but I don't think it really solves the problem. They need a big name as a heavyweight that people want to see Francis fight, not somebody you could slot in because they're kind of close and they might be good and fought in the UFC. That's not the same thing. We're not solving the same problem there.
Do you think we get a Corey Anderson Nemkov trilogy at all under any circumstance? Because I'd love
to see it. Yeah, I'd be down. I'd be
down.
I
love.
I'm telling you, man, that Bellator light heavyweight division, it's got a little promise.
Yeah. Maybe we can petition OT to go back to the killer at the dorm hall. What was his name, Luke? His old nickname, Corey Anderson.
Beastin 25-8.
Yeah, I'd like to see him make a comeback with that.
Dude, I'm gonna go start fighting, and my nickname's gonna be like Beastin 26-9. Like,
yeah, Corey, we love you, bro.
I got more numbers in my fraction.
Let's pause overtime. Let's bring back the Beast from room 68 over or whatever you got going on there. Let's go to at the Mojo Corpse. We got a couple more here, Luke. 1290. Can Tom Aspinall defeat Stipe? ? And will they fight in the new year? That answer is no, unless John Jones remains hurt. Seasonal greetings from Grimsby. Grimsby, what's that? UK probably. Grimsby.
From
Luke,
Grimsby.
he wants to know: Do you think Tom can beat Stipe? Yeah, dude. Tom's like a younger version of Stipe.
Tom can fuck him up real good, actually. Yeah. Dude,
Luke, what would
have you gone back and watched the rematch between Francis and Stipe?
Yeah, it's not.
Have you gone back and watched it? Dude, it's
not a good time for Stipe.
It's an ass kicking beginning to end from Francis. Like the fact that it went along, a little bit into the second round or whatever, is a miracle. He was getting tuned up in that first round,
and then he hit him with that jab of death, Luke, and that was the end of it. But do you think if John's comeback was delayed by further injury or arrest, God help him, or anything bad, we would see Tom versus Stipe for the full title? Correct.
I guess I mean,
maybe not. I mean, maybe if John could come back by November, they'll just rebook that in the Garden a year later. Dude, that'd be bad. But
I have to say, I don't know. I don't know what they would do. I mean, I don't know what else they could do. Shit, honestly, they might do like Jones and co-promote with Francis before they have Tom go in there. I was talking about this earlier, man. If Tom goes in there and like dusts off John, in many ways, that's really great for them. Like that's actually exactly what you would want. But if the opposite happens, if John goes in there and dusts Tom, and then just calls it quits, dude, that's like the worst scenario for your division.
Yes,
And John
you're
already
damn
did that
right.
at fucking 205, basically.
Especially waiting a year for that. So that's why I think they should strip John now for that exact reason. Obviously, when we were talking about Francis before, like the best scenario non-UFC would be Malakin from One, but I've seen quotes from him where he's like, I'm going to fight for One for my entire life. I love
Well, dude,
Chaudhry. I
those
want to be on
contracts,
the.
if you're a champion over there, you're not getting out of that deal, you know?
So what if the thing folded with the finances? That could open
Well,
something
then,
up. Not
so it depends on how the contracts are structured legally. At times you can buy them out. There's the contracts I've noticed every time an MMA organization would die, whether it was like Elite XC or IFL or even Pride, there were different ways contracts were legally structured that allowed you to acquire them. A lot of times, even then, guys have opt-out clauses in certain cases, so
yeah,
it can be weird. It can be weird.
Hey, dude, I think I just found Francis's opponent. Okay.
Okay.
You're not gonna love this. You'll hate it, but I'll like it. Maheta. Come on, heavyweight Thiago Santos, right? Heavyweight power.
Isn't he past it a little bit?
He's past it, but he's past it for competitive title winning light heavyweight. What if these dude? That guy could. I know he used to be a middleweight, right? But he's heavyweight big at light heavyweight.
He could fight at heavyweight credibly, probably.
No, I'm not saying he wins or
I
should
have
be
no
anywhere
interest in
close.
that. No, dude, you can't solve this problem except by making somebody famous in a direction you never thought possible. Some pro wrestler has to come over, or some major boxer has to come over, or someone has to defect from the UFC. That's it. Those are your only options. Like,
all right, I wonder if your idea on Renan Ferreira is the clubhouse leader in reality, because if you're the PFL, you would get to showcase one of your top young guys, and if he won, dude, you could have in theory a star overnight. But even if he went in there and looked good and lost, Luke, you'd still get a lot of people into him for the next heavyweight season, right?
Yes, potentially. But also, if Francis goes in there and breaks his jaw, that's fine, but you're just not going to sell a bunch that way.
Yeah, that's right. Let's go to at Nick Gopal 7253. Dude, what are these names? Who will be the new MMA prospect of 2024 that no one knows about yet? Luke, is there anyone you've heard on the regional scenes that's going to get a contender series shot? What do you got?
I got one for you. Paul Hughes out of Ireland.
Yep,
I think he's their Cage Warriors champ. Let me double check to see if he still is. I will tell you. But he's real good. He's real good. He is. I don't have his age in front of me. Obviously, he had a loss previously to Jordan Vucenic. He rebounded from that, and let's see. I think in that contest, yes, he won the featherweights championship. And did he win? Did he go up the next one and win the other title? He definitely won at 155. I don't think he won the belt. So he has fought at 155. He was been the champion at 145. Dude, he's awesome. He's like super good. He was one of our hammers of the month. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, actually. Great call.
He might have been one of the first ones.
No, he was a nominee. He didn't win, but he was a nominee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we got a side note, Luke. As we take inventory for what we forgot at the old bomb shelter that we'd like to have mailed to us, I guess we got to get that hammer, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we do need to get the hammer.
Yeah, that was a failed fun idea. We got to bring that back in some form. The old hammer.
We tried to tell him. Man.
We tried.
Bad
okay.
idea.
Tried so hard there. What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about I forgot. What was it, Luke? It was probably pretty good.
Can't miss prospects. Paul Hughes
is Cedric Paul Hughes. Quickly, is Cedric Doumbé, which kind of fits this question, but not really, is he a legitimate threat in his weight class on a PFL level or Bellator level, or is he just about action and entertainment, you think?
So he is like Poatan in that he was a very, very decorated kickboxer in kickboxing, right? So we're not talking about a guy who like fought at a high level. We're talking about one of the guys, right? That's who he was. So the reasons to have optimism are high, but BC, we just don't have much tape to go on against anybody you can reliably count on. Too early to say, but the promising nature of it is legit.
Damn. And one final question about prospects: that 6'7" dude that the UFC signed that has some Olympic background, could that guy have a breakout year?
So that's the guy. I forget his name. He is from Cuba. He was a Taekwondo champion. So he definitely, his last fight was against somebody that I thought had some promise, and I still do. But if you look at the records against the other guys he's fought, they've had a lot of upside down records. It's a one thing where it's like, you get a guy who's big and tall and reasonably athletic and has an Olympic pedigree background, which is going to, put a premium on speed, accuracy, and has amateur experience, so he's got a ton of it. That's going to put him ahead of just about every heavyweight, given the selection of who is available to fight heavyweight in MMA.
Yeah.
But we don't have any real clear answers about, hey, what happens if someone doesn't suck ass and can just take him down right away? He hasn't fought anybody. The last guy he fought was good, but like you just don't have again, sometimes people ask questions like, well, how's this guy going to look in 5 years? I'm like, guys, I couldn't possibly tell you. Like, the level of development is just really, we just don't have enough answers,
Yeah, you're right. Luke, you want to run through a couple more here? What do you want to do here? We can bang the fans.
Pick one or two good more ones, and then we'll call it a day.
All right. I'm going to steal this boxing one first from @Simon Etate 3158. If Devin Haney does not fight Tank, how do you see him facing Sabriel Matias for another belt at 140 or Teofimo? Thank you, you two old bag of bones. So it does look like Haney could be fighting Ryan Garcia. That could be a real thing. I don't think he'll fight Teo at all yet, at least, promotionally.
Haney is a bad matchup for Matias. Haney has a long jab, excellent
but they have
footwork.
been talking. Even though Sabriel's with PBC, the two sides have been talking. Sometimes if a fighter pushes, Al does let them go. Look at Stephen Fulton Jr. going to another network to fight Inoue.
Matias, you wouldn't count him out against anybody, but I would favor Haney to win that.
That's why they don't look scared
Lopez
of him at
one
all.
is interesting, BC, because Haney's going to be more consistent, but Lopez has the capacity for like rapid fire and quick springed attacks. Makes it interesting.
He has that plus athleticism. He has power, Teofimo. So although he's got to really prove that at 140 that it's a major thing, but he's also crazy, Luke. And he does have. We did learn in that Kambosos fight, even though it was a disaster for him in so many ways, reputationally, health wise, he does have that dog in him. I mean, he almost died that night. Seriously, he was in bad physical shape that night with the tearing of
Kambosos?
No, this is Teofimo.
Oh,
remember
Lopez.
when he tore his internal organ there when he
got the hug from the mountain.
Yeah, the Bjorn Thornton punched him in the stomach or something. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, Bjorn Thornton punched him in the chest and actually fucked him up proper, like in a real way.
At Toast Woozy, how did you meet your wives? Luke, do you feel comfortable sharing any parts of your origin story with the lovely and radiant Mrs. Thomas? And I will no longer call Coach Latorre lovely or radiant, Luke, because I got served for doing that to Mike Perry.
Yeah, apparently you did. No, I mean, for a brief time when I was between different jobs before I ever got into MMA, we had crossed paths and, kind of sprung from there.
All right. How long was the courting before the engagement?
A little over 3 years, closer to 4.
Okay. All right. So you got, all right, there you go. And it's a beautiful, happy ending, Luke. Happy to see that. I met my wife on MySpace, and she doesn't like when I tell that story in public, Luke, but we were both in our late 20s. I just started working at ESPN. We had a MySpace group, private one in there among employees to warn each other ahead of time that Mikey's late father, my mentor, Anthony Mormile, if he was on the warpath, which was every day, we would warn each other, like so you knew if you were walking into work for that evening shift and you'd cross paths with him, you're gonna get it. So that was what we created. And then Luke, working till 2-3 a.m. I started searching for local women on MySpace. That's not creepy, is it, Luke? It's kind of creepy. I know it's not, right?
I mean, here's the thing. It's like it matches. Like it's like, oh, the guy who just admitted to doing this also admitted to doing whippets in an Arby's parking lot. That checks out.
Well, my wife initially assumed I was a serial killer and a weirdo. So there needed to be a long email courting process, then a phone process, and then we finally eventually had the first date. So, but yet with that said, Luke, from the first date to the wedding day, exactly 1 year. Cinco de Mayo, 1 year. Engaged at 3 months, dude. 6 months. Engaged at 6 months. It happens, Luke. It does happen.
Damn, that's like an arranged marriage, man.
Yeah,
it's like there's no dating. You're just here together.
16 years later, we're still at it, thank God, and wouldn't change a thing. But there were a few people that were
like you. Do they like you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's cool. Everybody's good. Everybody's cool. I mean, I don't know if like they might think I'm a weirdo, Luke. I mean, that happens from time to time, but no, I'm a solid family man, Luke. All right, there we go.
Yeah, no, I know. I know.
I mean, I might follow too many strawweights on Instagram, but we're gonna move on past that. We have like maybe one or two more as we get out of here.
We'll call it a day. Let's do one.
Okay. You want to do
fun
MMA?
One. Don't pick a bullshit one.
MMA or movies, Luke?
Movies, for sure. Movies.
All right. From at the Taint. The Taint. Oh, well, probably the Taint. What are your top 5 favorite 80s movies? So, Luke, when you think of the 80s, what is that core movies that are either you think are among the greatest of all time or have that cult classic where you're like, I've seen it 75,000 times and I wouldn't change a thing?
Jesus, man, this is like, I mean, it's Empire Strikes Back, Predator, Alien.
Okay.
Is Alien 79?
I don't. I'll look it up.
Um,
Was Empire Strikes Back the 80s? That might have been
84, I think. 84.
No,
Empire.
it's early. Oh, it's 80. 1980 was Empire Strikes Back.
Was it really?
Yeah, so you fit in with that one. Aliens, Luke. Aliens was 86. Yeah, okay, we're all good on that.
Perfect. Okay, so then Predator, which I think is 87. Man. You know, and I'm judging this as a kid. Like, I'm not actually making a claim about the best cinema of the 80s. I'm just telling you what I love.
No, this is about what I mean. You could
probably
if there was
Rocky,
one you thought.
Probably Rocky.
Yeah, I'd throw Rocky 3 and 4 in there. I'd definitely throw Predator, which you did. Predator, no doubt.
I was never a big Rambo like First Blood.
No, Cobra by Stallone. I'll put up there. It's a cult classic, but I love that. I've got to throw in Better Off Dead without question. Do you like that comedy, Luke?
Oh, I was gonna say also the Running Man movie, which is different.
No, I see. We've had this debate. Too. I love the Running Man, but it's not.
I've read the book. The book is better, but it's a Stephen King thing.
It's not on the Predator. I put Commando above Running Man every day.
Commando is so not above Running
Man. But Luke,
Man.
what about my favorite 80s comedy, Better Off Dead? You don't get down with that?
I don't remember that one.
That's the $2 newspaper kid. They ski at the end. You don't remember that one? The weird. All right, a lot of weirdness.
Oh, dude,
Great
how about
movie.
Ghostbusters? Dude, the original Ghostbusters. Everyone wanted to turn it into this franchise thing where we're going to sell toys, but if you actually watch the original Ghostbusters, it's edgy, it's satirical. These guys are kind of losers. There's a real kind of undercurrent vibe of loserdom to the whole thing, gone well for them, that I just love. Subversive.
I was 5, I think, when Ghostbusters came out, and I remember going opening night. See, my dad, in hindsight, my dad was awesome at, if there was a movie with any level of hype, we're going opening night, first showing right after dinner, like packed house, and we're going to be there. And that was an opening night one, but I remember being scared in the first like 30 minutes, like, cause it was, edgy. It looked like a horror film in some of the scenes. It was kind of, I was 5 years old, but that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So
I mean, the
something probably like that.
Karate Kid Part 1 has to be in this. Yeah, that's got to be in.
Of course it does. Of course, yes.
Does anything else?
The television series ruined it by trying to make the lives of teenagers much more interesting
than
it actually is.
You're wrong. It's great, and they're coming back for a bonus 6th season. It's like round 6 of MVP versus Mike Perry.
I need to just tell everyone in Hollywood the lives of teenagers are not that interesting.
I'm wearing a hat right now for that, Luke. I got a lot of merch in that area. I love that. All right. I think that'll do it. I'm trying to think if we missed any late 80s like automatic movies that have to be in the
before we go, I will tell you 1 second. By the way, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, I could see. 16 Candles. Luke, 16 Candles is going to be there for me too.
So some of the bigger ones from that decade. Here, the 100 greatest movies of the 80s, according to Rolling Stone. BC, you ready for some of these?
Yeah.
God, there's a bunch of these I haven't even heard of. Hold on, I can't read this. This is too far out. How about Goonies?
Oh, right. Yeah, that should have been on our list. Should have been.
Gremlins was so big. You have no idea.
Yeah, but then they had a spider in Gremlins too, and I was gone, Luke. Spiders are the worst.
Land Before Time. No. Beetlejuice, Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, the Never-Ending Story, Luke. Come on, right?
Never-Ending Story was big, dude. A bunch of these were big, man. I'm telling you. I guess Raging Bull was the 80s as well. Oh, here we go. 25 greatest movies of the 1980s. You ready? Fanny and Alexander. I don't know what the hell that is. 1982. The Terminator, of course. 1984. Dead Poets Society. Oh, Captain.
Oh, dude,
Captain.
that's a legit top 5 movie for me. Damn, that's a great film.
E.T. How about E.T.? People don't know shit about E.T.
Dude, I saw E.T. 4 times. 4 times in the theater. Look, the only other movies I've seen that much are Billy Madison and Christmas Vacation. 4 times in the theater.
Let me get through it and we'll call it a day. Breakfast Club, 1985 is at 20. Airplane at 1980. Grave of the Fireflies. I've not seen that. Raiders of the Lost Ark, dude. This is prime Harrison Ford.
Oh, Back to the
That's sitting at-
Future, Luke. Back to the Future's got to be
Come
there.
and See, 1985. RoboCop.
Yeah.
RoboCop, 1987. Scarface, 1983. One of my favorite movie from Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing, 1989. Back to the Future is at 12. The Princess Bride with Andre the Giant sitting at 11. The Thing, which is super underrated, by the way, at number 10. Ron is my favorite movie of all time. It's ranked at number 9, bitch, by Akira Kurosawa. Eat a dick. How about that?
Yeah.
8 is Aliens, 1986. 7 is Cinema Paradiso, 1988. I've not seen that. Die Hard. Dude, Die Hard. Bruce Willis. Shouts to Bruce Willis, who apparently has very bad Alzheimer's. 1988.
Loved him in Color of Night with Jane March, Luke. Pants around the ankles. No question about that. All
Top
right.
5, When Harry Met Sally. They don't make movies like that anymore. 1989. Number 4, The Shining, 1980. Number 3, Blade Runner, which was the original one, 1982. Again, prime Harrison Ford. Number 2, Raging Bull. I mean, come on, one of the best movies.
Dude, Raging Bull's one thing people don't talk about enough. Raging Bull's hard to watch, dude. That is raw, real, and
it's a brutal film. And by the way, 1980, also in 1980, The Empire Strikes Back, dude. 1980 was a hell of a year for cinema. Hell of a year.
So that whole stretch in the late 70s with all that neo-noir classic was. Luke, I do have one more question. It's about MK. It's a perfect thing to close on. This is from Sino Urnida, something like that. Whatever. What are your top 3 goals for MK in 2024? Keep up the good work, donks. Enjoy the break and best wishes on the new year. Luke, you don't have to go 3, but how would you frame if somebody said, what's your goal for MK in 2024?
There's a certain amount of, well, let's be honest, man. MK had a bit of we persevered. I'm excited about the road ahead. I know you are as well. But we ran into some speed bumps this year. I mean, there's just no denying that we did. I'm looking to put that chapter behind us. I'm looking to get back to the kind of content that we just love to make. You know what I mean? Like, I love doing the show, but then there are moments during the course of what we do where it's one broadcast, whether it's a show or it's on location or it's whatever it ends up, an interview, whatever, where you're like, dude, I love doing this shit. I'm looking forward to getting back to some of that. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I think what's going to help get there is a lot of the major changes that you'll be seeing eventually when we make this when our vision starts to come to life. You'll know about it. Believe me, you'll be fired up about it. But I want to say one thing is I'm not always great, as we know, it's a running joke, at being efficient. But we're going to sharpen the blade this year. We're going to examine what works best for us and focus on that. And I think we're going to do our best work ever because of that, Luke. Because sometimes you can get too caught up in the quantity over quality debate in a show like this, because we want clicks. We want to, I love doing interviews, man. I don't care if 400 people watch a boxing interview of mine. Like, I love just being involved in that game and keeping current. If we sharpen our blade and really focus on what wins for us with renewed vigor and this bright vision that's upon us, despite a lot of the rough changes lately, and shout out to everybody that have lost their job at Showtime. And it was a tough, tough end of that run, and Malka just the same. But if we get a little more efficient and we bring it, our joy is going to be through the roof, and we're going to be our best versions ever. So I'm ready, dude. I feel like we're in the on deck circle
in 2024. BC.
Maybe we will
finally.
We're in the on deck circle of life right now, Luke, and we're about to swing big. And I'm getting in shape. You're getting in shape. Let's do it. Yep. Let's do it, dude. New year, no limits.
Let's take care. Let's work on our shit. Work on our lives. Work on our bodies. Let's work on our shit this year.
Yeah, I want my body to be a wonderland.
Also, I would like
John
to
work
on my time with my family. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Let's be the best version of us. Let's have balance. Let's be the best. Absolutely. Let's be the best versions of ourselves. There it is. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. All that. Thank you to Mikey Mormal for all he does for us. CBS Sports, always the heart and soul behind the scenes. That's Luke Thomas. I'm Brian Campbell. Thank you, folks. Okay. Because ups and downs through everything we do, you guys are click and play. Just push play. Okay. That's what we're talking about. And there's something about us, Luke, that these people can't go away. And one day they'll harvest our organs, and it'll be it'll be a horrible ending, Luke. But before we get there,
they'll harvest our organs and mutilate our bodies, and then turn that into land Jaeger that they feed to the next podcast host.
I could see Appy selling like Luke Thomas burgers, like proudly, and then referencing that bottle of wine, Luke, that you just were like, I don't need this shit. That that gift from Appy was like,
shit.
F off. There it is. All right, that's it. That's Luke Thomas. Have a great year. It's BC. We love you. Take care. We're out of here.